Mustangs, welcome back. Here we are, Season 2, Episode 4. Back in school, but it's a little bit different. We had to make some adjustments again, but it's all good, right? We've got some special guests coming on today. Mr. Brigando, how are you today? I haven't really seen you too much lately.
No, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. We also have Mr. Postorino joining us today. Say hi, Mr. Postorino.
Welcome back, Mustangs. Good to see you.
So we got some information to go over, and we have some special guests today. I think it's going to be another great episode.
Yeah, it should be really good. I know Mrs. Puri's going to be coming on with some of her students from her culinary arts classes. They're going to be talking about a great project they've been working on in commemoration of Hispanic Heritage Month. So they'll be popping in, and I think Mr. Viteri might actually pop in with them to join them on that discussion. So it should be a lot of fun, and I know Mr. Postorino's got a lot of great information that he's going to share with our Kennedy family. So we'll leave it up to whoever wants to take it over. Mr. Postorino, if you want to start, or Mr. Brigando, if you want to deal with your announcements, whatever we want to do.
Go ahead, Mr. Brigando. I want to hang here for a little bit.
All right. So, please excuse the interruption. We have several weekly announcements today. Important announcement for the seniors. This Thursday, October 29th, and Friday, October 30th, is going to be your cap and gown pickup. Information was sent home that details when and where you will be going to pick up your cap and gowns. Please check the senior class information Google page so that you can see when you should be there. If you are not sure of your homeroom, please log on to Genesis, click schedule, and on the top right should be a print button. You do not have to print, but when you click that print button, your homeroom should show up on that sheet. If you still have questions, please reach out and we could get that information for you. Also, please remember to abide by all social distancing rules. Please wear a mask or you will not be allowed to pick up your cap and gown. Everybody has a cap and gown. Even if you did not order one, we have one for you. So please make every effort to be there on your scheduled date. Now, for more important announcements, I give you our principal, Mr. Postorino.
Thank you, Mr. Brigando. Thank you, Ms. DiLeonardo. And also a special thanks to Ms. Acuna Francisco for helping every week to put together what I consider to be one of the best things to come from our remote learning. This is something that we as a school are very proud of, and I hope that our students are taking advantage of, getting some of the information via our Excuse the Interruption program. We did get a chance to go back on Monday, October 12th and 13th with our A-Day cohort, and half of our senior class was given the SATs. The B cohort was given the SATs on Wednesday. We did have to close for a period of time, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Our school will be returning to live in-person instruction. I say that again. Our school will be returning to live in-person instruction in the same cohorts that we began the school year with on October 12th, with our B cohort coming to school this Thursday, October 29th, and Friday, October 30th. What is most important about your return to school is some of the health and safety features that you students have to pay attention to. And parents, we ask that you absolutely comply with our attestation statement. The COVID attestation statement will be made available to you each morning. That form has to be filled out prior to 8 a.m. We know that's early. We know that our actual classes don't begin until 9:45, but it has to be completed by 8 a.m. I know we've received some concern over, I filled it out at 5 after 8. And I still got 3 phone calls after. There's really no way for us to stop the wheels once they're in motion at 8 o'clock. So if you fill out the form before 8 o'clock, your child will be able to enter their class without any interruption when they come to school. If it's not filled out by 8 o'clock, though, they will be screened by our school nurse, and they will end up ultimately missing a few minutes of their Block 1 classes. That's not what we want. We want everyone to fill out the form. But that's part of the features that are meant to really keep our students, our staff, and our families at home safe by not creating situations where we may have a student that was symptomatic and attending our classes. So the attest statement needs to be completed each morning before 8. That's really step one. Next, we realize that we're going into a fall recess, and we have the Thanksgiving holiday coming up at the end of the month of November. And those are holidays, and those are times, recesses, where there's usually a large amount of travel. Travel to see family, travel to see friends. And despite the difficulties that exist right now with traveling in the state of New Jersey, there was a correspondence sent home to our families on October 26th that detailed some of the parameters around travel. Should you need to travel over the break, over the fall recess, going into the Thanksgiving holiday, you will need to, if you travel to a hotspot, you will need to execute a 14-day quarantine. Those students should not come into the building. Those families should keep their children home. They should not come in. If you have questions about the quarantine and travel, you can certainly refer to the letter that was mailed home on October 26th. There's live links included in that letter that will take you directly to the CDC and New Jersey government sites that will list the areas that you will need to quarantine from, whether it's domestic travel or whether it's travel abroad. Please pay attention to the information in that letter. As again, we want you in school, but in order to keep everyone safe and healthy, we all need to do our part by wearing a mask, and quarantining when necessary. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Postorino. I have one more thing to add to the senior class. Senior portraits are going to take place between November 2nd and 6th. There are also additional dates added. That will be December 7th and 8th, as well as December 10th and 11th. If you have any questions, please refer to the information on the Senior Information Google Classroom page. We're also going to link both of those letters in the link below.
Just a reminder to the seniors, please check that senior class information page on a regular basis, on a daily basis. There's always different announcements going up, whether they're coming from Mrs. Rotella with yearbook or Mrs. Miller with any financial concerns. Anything that's going on with the senior class, that's going to be your first stop in terms of getting information promptly. So check that site on a daily basis. Any other questions that you have, you can always refer to your guidance counselor. They're usually going to, reach out to either Mr. Bergondo, myself, Mrs. Rotella, or Mrs. Miller. We'll get you whatever answer you need. But, do your homework. Check that site. You should be able to find the answers that you need first there. And any other additional information or any other way we can help the seniors, just let us know. We're here to do that and here to help you have a great senior year.
Yeah, I hear we have Ms. Puri coming on with some of her students for special guests. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I know they've been working on a great project to commemorate Hispanic Heritage Month. So they're going to share some of the things they've been doing in their home arts class in terms of cooking and culture. And it's going to be great. I think Mr. Viteri, like I said, is going to be popping in to join them. So it's going to be a good time. Looking forward to it.
Great.
All right, so today we have, on Excuse the Interruption, we have some special guests here today. We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. We have with us today Ms. Puri and Mr. Viteri and some of our wonderful JFK students that are going to tell us all about these special activities that they've been involved with for Hispanic Heritage Month. All right, so Ms. Puri, I'm going to throw it over to you. You can get started with the intro to your activities and then introduce all of your other special guests.
Thank you, Ms. D. I'm very happy and excited to be on the show. So yes, as Ms. D mentioned, this is Hispanic Heritage Month, where we are celebrating a lot of festivities in different classrooms. And in my classroom, we did a little PowerPoint that was designed by my students, and then they presented and we had some questions that students asked. Actually, they filled out a form where they asked questions and the students answered. So just a little overview what it is about. So each year, Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month, and from September 15th to October 15th by celebrating histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And it's really cool that we have so many students from this heritage in our school. So it's really something to celebrate their heritage. So Hispanic Heritage Observance began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson, and was expanded, and it was further expanded by President Ronald Reagan. So what my students have prepared is a nice presentation, and they will talk about that and the questions that we have. So let me first introduce my coworker, Mr. Waitari, who was kind enough to come and be on the panel here. And I have my students, Leah and Alejandra and Ashley. Ashley and Alejandra, they prepared the presentation, and Leah is here to answer questions along with on the Dominican cuisine. So I'll let them.
Well, from Peru, the most famous dish has to be ceviche. It's, well, it's basically a salad with onions, fish, raw fish, and lime juice, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. And what can you tell us more about Colombian cuisine?
Colombian cuisine is basically mostly steak and chicken. The most famous one is gonna be bandeja paisa. It's a bunch of, it has steak, white rice, egg, avocados.
Okay, that's great. How about we give it to Ashley? Ashley, can you describe your heritage and cuisine that you're going to be talking about? So Leah, tell us something about your cultural and cuisine.
I'm Puerto Rican, and when we're cooking, we usually do a lot of rice and beans in our food. We cook a lot of arroz con gandules in our house, and we love to use our sofrito in every types of foods. We use it in our meats, our rice, and our beans. When we're cooking, we like to do it with the family as well, because you know we love to cook big meals. So usually when we're cooking, we use more than usual or a lot of it. We also like to cook plantains or plátanos. And yeah, that's like our main foods in our house, is usually rice, beans with plátanos and some type of meat.
Mr. Waiteri.
Mr.
Hi.
Well, I know Mr. Waiteri likes to eat, so I'm sure he's hungry after hearing all of those different cuisines, and he wishes there was a plate of everything in front of him right now. But go ahead, Mr. Waiteri, what do you want to share?
So the first thing I want to say is I turned 40 this year, and this is the first time I'm ever hearing of Hispanic Heritage Month, and I want to thank you, Mamta, for bringing awareness to Hispanics, Americans all across this country. And this country is amazing in that we could celebrate every different culture. And so thank you for this opportunity. So my story is a pretty interesting one. So I identify as a Hispanic American. My mother, she was born here in New York, but her family was born in Puerto Rico. So we have a lot of experiences or dealing with Puerto Rican food. And my father's story, he was born in Ecuador and actually came up through the Mexican border. So it's a pretty interesting story as well. So I have a background in Ecuadorian food as well as Puerto Rican food. And I married a Peruvian woman, so I definitely have a big background in foods. And so like one of the young ladies was saying, one of the famous foods that the Peruvians eat is ceviche. And so it's typically raw fish, and they cook it in lemon juice. And they don't use any heat, so you're cooking the fish in a low pH. I'm sorry for dropping science terms. And so it actually cooks it, and the texture of the meat turns hard like it's cooked, and it's served cold. And you actually drink the lemon juice after it has cooked the fish, and that's called leche de tigre, which in English interprets into milk of the tiger, and that thing is amazing. It's one of the best things that we eat. I think it clears colds and fixes everything. So my wife craves that every week, and we often go to a Peruvian restaurant for that. Like Leah was saying, we often eat fried plantains, and for people who are not familiar with that, that's like a type of banana, and you could eat them while they're green, or you could allow them to ripen while they're yellow, and when they're yellow they taste very sweet, and you fry those, and those are called plátanos maduros. And so those are just an amazing thing to eat with arroz con gandules, which in English would be rice with pigeon beans, and those cooked in Tamden make an unbelievable combination. I think I just gained weight thinking about those foods as we're talking. So I wanted to mention those two things, but I guess one of the most famous things that we eat typically on Christmas is something called pernil. It's Pernil. And that's going to be roast pork shoulder, and we typically bake that, and we leave the fat on it so all the juices could stay inside the piece of pork, and we allow that to harden. And so we pull off that crust of fat, and I know it doesn't. It's amazing because the combination of the meat and fat are just amazing. You usually stuff it with garlic, onions, the salt and pepper, and typically that is where we cook. So if I were going to say, if you were going to go to a Puerto Rican restaurant, definitely get pernil asado con arroz con gandules con plátanos maduros, and you'd be straight. If you were going to a Peruvian restaurant, get something called what was that? What was I talking about?
The Peruvian. Well,
the raw fish that we cook. Ceviche. I'm sorry. Sorry. I had a brain fart. I was looking at my my notes here. And I think another young lady was saying something about sofrito. And we might not know what sofrito is for people who are not familiar with the culture, but sofrito is basically a base that we add to almost every single food. So it could, I guess it would be similar to a chicken stock, but what it is going to be, diced up onions, diced up garlic, diced up tomatoes, and we typically are going to fry that and add it to our rice. We're going to add that to our meats. We're going to add that to our chilies. We're going to add that to everything. So thank you for spreading awareness, Ms. Puri. It's truly amazing that you're doing that, and you have such great students, and thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Actually, you really helped us understand, and it was really nice to have you. That brings me to your next question is, what is the popular restaurant nearby or around in New Jersey where we can go and enjoy these kind of foods? So maybe Ashley, you can tell us one here, then Alejandro, and then Leah. Take turns, please.
There's one in Perth Amboy. It's called Don Manuel, I believe, or Don Manuel, yeah. And there's one in New York. It's really good. It's La Casa de Mofongo.
Alejandra, where does your family and you go for the cuisine? For Peruvian, Colombian.
That's common that we go is called Latin Grill. It's here in Puerto Amboy. And a Colombian restaurant is in Elizabeth. It's called Brisas. And it's a bakery and a restaurant in one.
Oh, great. And how about you, Leah? Recommendations for your restaurants?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, my internet went out. But one place, it's a Cuban restaurant actually, but it's very it's very good food. It is called Cuban Pete's, and it's in Montclair.
Okay.
Cuban Pete's is great.
It's amazing. It's a little pricey, but it's amazing.
Mr. Whiteri, it looks like you have been there.
Oh yeah, Cuban Pizza is great. It is truly amazing. I will say that Woodbridge has one restaurant that's really good. They have a couple, but I'm going to highlight Surrender Cafe, which is next to the Woodbridge High School, and that's going to have a mixture of Dominican, Puerto Rican cuisine. They'll also have the sancocho, but they'll definitely have a great pernil there. I'm going to say Hugo's in Rahway, which is Peruvian food, and that's going to be a great a great restaurant. But if you want great seafood, fried seafood with ceviche, you're going to go to Stancia, Stancia, and that's going to be in Linden, not too far, but those are some great restaurants.
So we will send the links of these restaurants to you, Ms. D, so you can tag them.
Great.
So people, if they like to go and enjoy this cuisine, they can go and enjoy. So it was really nice. I think it was a good discussion. And last question is like, what would you think is a spice that is used a lot in your cuisine? For example, a lot of cuisines use, like Indian cuisine, they use cumin, turmeric a lot. What is one spice that is used very often and a lot in most of your dishes? So we'll take Ashley, then Alejandra, Leah, and Mr. Whiteherry.
I'd say adobo. Adobo is really very common in most of the Hispanic cuisines.
Could you be a little louder, Ashley?
Adobo, it's
Adobo. Okay, adobo. Oh, yes. Of course, without doubt, I would say, because anytime I would cook anything in class, students will ask me, do you have adobo? So anything that has salt and pepper, they will add adobo to it. Yes, agreed. Yes, Alejandra, how about you?
In Colombia, the common thing is cilantro.
Cilantro. Good.
So,
How about
so
you?
well, Peru.
Okay. Leah?
We usually use adobo, padilla, or sazon.
Sazon. Yeah. All right, Mr. Whiteherry.
So definitely with the adobo and the sazon, but since those are two were taken, I'm gonna say probably onions and tomatoes are in every single dish.
Okay, that's like staple. That's great. Awesome. Yes, I think it was a very good discussion. I will just wrap up by saying a couple of things about this theme that they have for Hispanic Heritage this month. This year's theme is for Hispanics: be proud of your past, embrace the future, and invite all your friends from different Hispanic background to come together and be proud of your cuisine and culture. And one last thing, just a piece of information, that 12 states have over 1 million Hispanic residents, and New Jersey is one of them. So we are very proud to have this heritage amongst us, and we should celebrate them every year by doing more panels like this and celebrating their food and cuisine. Thank you, Ms. D, for your time. Mr.
You guys are
Whiteherry,
great. Very
and all
informative.
my students, thank you very much. Ashley, Alejandra, and Leah.
Excellent. Thanks for stopping by and sharing all that information about Hispanic Heritage Month and all the great things you've been cooking. I'm hungry right now. You know, not as hungry as by Terry because, you know, he'll just eat all day. But it was great. Thanks again for stopping by.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
now.
See ya. Mr. B, do you know what time it is?
I do actually. I believe for the first time, I do know what time it is.
Check your watch.
Yeah, it is. It's time for the word of the day.
All right, Mr. Bergando, it's all you. The word of the day.
Today's word of the day is flourish. It's a verb meaning to prosper, grow, or make fast progress. After 1 year, the tiny plants have flourished into a breathtaking garden.
Nice word, Mr.
How was that,
Bergando.
Miss-
That was very good. I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, I think now it's time for me to actually throw it over to you for one of my favorite parts of the show. And I'll let you tell them what time that is.
All right, I think it's time for the thought for the day. Thought for the day. So, thought for the day is a little bit longer today. Let me make sure I get this correct. All right, ability. Ability is what you are capable of doing. Motivation determines what you are willing to do, but attitude determines how well you're going to do it. So keep up that great attitude, Mustangs. All right, make it a great year. We're off to a great start. Let's keep it going. So good job, everybody. All right, Mr. Bergando, we had a great episode, another great episode. There's only time for one more thing.
That's right. So, this is the end of Season 2, Episode 4, and it's time to Go Mustangs!
Wise with goals and dreams and knowledge deep and strong, and pride is